being self-employed, this is one of my biggest struggles. It's overwhelming. At any given moment, I have thousands of emails and notifications and distractions that it's hard to understand what I should be doing and what I should be focused on at that moment. In this video, I'm going to share with you this life-changing technique that I've started doing that keeps me on task, keeps me really crystal clear on what I need to do and what I need to focus on all day long. This problem of clarity and focus is one of the biggest struggles that I've struggled with over the years. We live in this age of information overload. You probably have hundreds, if not thousands of messages in your inbox, not to mention a to-do list that's 1,000 miles long, and Facebook and Instagram and all the other distractions. Somewhere embedded in all that is actually important stuff that you should be working on. Somewhere amongst all the shiny objects are things that really do demand your attention, things that do push the ball forward, but we just can't see it all and make sense of it because it's just too much to process. So what ends up happening is that we actually get demotivated and start doing things that really aren't necessarily important, procrastinating, pushing things off. If I said go out and run 100 miles, you probably be like, screw that, you crazy? I'd rather just sit here and do nothing. If I said, hey, how about go out and run 100 feet? You're like, okay, I can do that. I know exactly what to do and how to do it. I'll just go and do that. When we look at this mountain of stuff that we could be working on, it's demotivating. It's so overwhelming that it pushes us to do nothing or work on small, trivial things that just keep us busy instead of actually making progress. So it wasn't until I started doing this technique that I'm going to share with you that I was able to really dial in and get crystal clear on what the most effective use of my time was that day, and was able to start focusing only on those things to keep me on track. Now, this is just a small part of my morning routine. I have a whole video that walks through my entire morning process, and I'll share a link with that video at the end of this video. But this one I'm about to share with you is just a really small part of my routine that really organizes and gets my day structured right. I don't really have an official name for it, but I call it goal storming. Like it sounds, it's brainstorming for your goals. The way it works is once I've kind of done my morning process, I've done my meditation, and now I want to sit down and kind of get my day organized. I have my journal, and for this I use something called the Hero Journal. What I'm looking for is clarity on what I should be working on at this given moment. And the very first part of that is it should be based on my goals. My goals should be the center point of my activity for the day. If you're not focused on a goal, if you're not focused on the priorities, something big that you're working on, like why'd you even wake up, right? You gotta have something that you're working towards. So the first thing I wanna do is I wanna get centered in that. And so I write down my goal. So I have this blank sheet of paper. I start by just writing the goal and I form it into a question form. For instance, if I'm working right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build my YouTube presence, because my big goal is that I'll influence over 1 million people. I'll encourage and equip over 1 million people with how to just level up in every area of their life. And the way I'm going to do that is through YouTube. And so my goal right now is I want to grow my YouTube subscribers to 500. I sit there and I write that, I change that into a question. And at the top of the page, I write my first goal. And I say, how will I grow my YouTube channel to 500 subscribers? And I sit there and I just focus on that question. I close my eyes and I do for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I sit there and I churn and process that question. How will I grow my YouTube channel to 500 subscribers? And immediately my brain starts dumping out. It starts dumping everything, all the possibilities, everything I could do, every strategy, everything I could be working on. And I just start writing it down. I just write it down. I write it down. I write it down. And you know what? The first minute or two is easy because it's all the things that's top of mind. I sit there and I force myself. I actually set a timer on my phone for 5 minutes. In the first 2 minutes, I get out all the stuff that's at the top of the mind. And then something magical happens. After you get all the top of mind stuff down, and I force myself to sit there with that question a little bit longer, then it starts to dig deep. Then now I'm looking for inspiration. Now I'm looking for the universe to speak to me, if you will. And I hope that didn't get too fluffy for you, but I call it strokes of genius. Once you get past the initial stuff, now you're waiting for the stroke of genius. And I sit there and I wait. I'm sitting and I'm sitting, and more stuff is coming and I'm writing it down. And then I have a breakthrough. I have an aha, like boom, yes, that's ingenious. Write that down, Jarvis, write that down. That was good. And then I sit there, I open my eyes, and now I have this list, this laundry list of things that I could do to grow my YouTube channel. All of it is good stuff, it's gold. Now, what I have to do is I have to focus this list. I have to condense it and really, really understand what's the most important one of these things that I actually should do today, that I could do today. Out of all of these things that I could be doing, what is the most important? What's the one that I need to do today, that I need to focus on today? What's the one that if I could only do one of these things, what's the one that'll move the ball the furthest today? And I put a little exclamation point next to it. That is my focus. For that goal, today, that task is I call it my critical action. I do that same process for my other 2 big goals. So I focus on 3 goals at a time. And for each of my goals, I do a goal storming. And so I write down my second goal and I do the same thing. I say, hey, my second goal is I'm growing the Morning Hero. I'm growing my brand through the Morning Hero. That is the vehicle that I will influence 1 million people through. How will I impact the lives of 1 million people through the Morning Hero? So I ask myself that question, how will I? And then I state the goal. And then I sit there and I goal storm. I set a timer and I let all the ideas come. I let all the inspiration come. I let all the wisdom from the universe pour through me and onto this piece of paper, and I just start writing things down. Once I finish, I prioritize. I put a little exclamation point. I say, which one of these, if I could only do one of these today, which is the one that's gonna push the ball the furthest? What's the most important? And I put a little exclamation point next to it. So I do this process, I goal storm for all 3 of my top 3 goals. Now, once I've finished goal storming, I have this really powerful assembly of tasks and activities and projects and plans and just mind mapped all on this piece of paper. Now, the final step is most important, is where I transfer it to my calendar. So now all of this is good stuff and I don't want it to go to waste. I need to schedule a time where I can actually work on each one of these things. The first priority are the ones that I put the exclamation point next to. So what I'm gonna do now is transfer those items, the most important ones, onto my calendar for the day. And again, I'm still using the Hero Journal. So the Hero Journal has a section for my calendar. And so now I take all of the things that I've goal stormed. So I've had this whole sheet of goal storm ideas, actions, projects, things that I should be and could be working on. I take the most important ones and I schedule them as time slots on my calendar for the day. Once I've finished scheduling out those time slots of what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna do it, I have a blueprint of exactly how my day should go. I practice something called the Zero Calendar, where I schedule every minute of my calendar with intention. And once I have my blueprint, once I have my calendar all designed and looking pretty, now at that point I know exactly what to focus on and when to focus on it throughout the day. I time block those things and I make it non-negotiable that I do those things at the times that I've scheduled that I should do it. This gives me really, really crystal clarity on what I should be working on and when I'm gonna work on it throughout the day. At any given point throughout the day, if I feel lost, if I feel overwhelmed, if I feel frazzled, all I have to do is look at my calendar and see exactly what I should be focused on at that moment. This becomes my blueprint. Essentially, from this point forward, once this is created, I don't have to think about it anymore throughout the day. All I do is look at it and execute. I look at my calendar and execute. This process of going from goal storming to calendar has been revolutionary for me, and it has changed my life. This is only one part of my whole entire morning routine though. This part takes me about 20 minutes to do, but I have an entire morning process that now starts my day with momentum, and I'll talk a little bit about that in this next video. So go ahead and click this next video, where I walk through in detail my entire morning routine that encompasses this, as well as my process of getting hypercharged momentum. I'll see you guys in the next video.